Mind Over Matter, the podcast where we explore how mindset shapes everything from health to purpose. Today's guest is the incredible Joe Owens, a 75-year-old author, publisher, real estate broker, and film producer who's living proof that age doesn't have to show us down. His new book, Feelin Groovy, A Boomer Guide to Ageless Aging, is a vibrant, humorous, and empowering call for baby boomers to embrace life with energy, engagement, and joy. Joe's journey from a life threatening heart condition to building a wellness routine that transformed his health and vitality is a testament to resilience, determination, and the power of a positive mindset. We are diving into what it really takes to stay mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy as we age, and how we all can feel groovy at any stage of life. Welcome to the show, Joe. It's an honor to have you.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks so much for having me.
Mhm. So, Joe, your story is so inspiring. What made you decide to turn your personal wellness journey into a book for other boomers?
So I wrote Feeling Groovy because I saw far too many people my age giving up too soon, mentally, physically, emotionally. After a cardiac event, as you mentioned, in my late 50s, I had to choose between a lifetime of medications or changing my life. And so I made the choice of exercising more, drinking more water, getting rid of things that had an adverse effect on my heart, like caffeine and alcohol, things like that. And it was a mindset shift. So instead of doctors and medications, it was becoming healthy again. After I did that, I felt much better, and my heart recovered, and I was, able to work out and do the things that normal folks do. And I was approaching 60, so when I turned 60, I decided, you know, let's maybe see if I can get healthy, seriously healthy. So I started running a couple of miles a day in the gym, and 15 years later, here I am, still running a couple of miles a day and going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and keeping busy. Um, and when I say keeping busy, it's not I'm an old person doing things to stay busy. I work full time because I don't know how to retire. I don't know how to do that. Every day of my life, I've gotten out of bed and I've gone to work and at work. So I don't know how to retire, so I'll just keep working. And I think that's extremely important. The reason I wrote the book was to sort of share my experiences, and it's sort of my way of helping other people in my age group find their own second wind and understanding how your mindset is basically it was going to be a workout guide for baby boomers. Essentially, it's going to be about exercises. But when I started talking to boomers, they said, we don't really care about that. What we care about is how do you feel young again? We don't want to be old doing push-ups. We want to feel young again. So feeling groovy became more about fitness. It became about mindset, attitude, purpose, humor. Don't let yourself get stuck in the past or fade into irrelevance. So it's turned out to be a guide for growing older without growing old.
So, was there a turning point where you realized mindset mattered even more than the physical?
Well, I think in our lives are a series of choices. And so it's a conscious effort, I think, to decide how you're going to approach your life. Um, I think for anybody that is looking to grow older without getting into the idea of aging, then you need to make a choice. And you choose energy, you choose purpose, you choose humor, a way to stay relevant no matter what your age is. So I think that no no amount of push-ups or sit-ups or walking or anything like that is going to make you feel younger again and change how you feel. It just may make you stronger, but it's not going to change the way you feel. A change like that has to happen in your brain, and then your body will come along. The wonderful thing about your body is it's such an elegant machine. So once you make the decision that I'm going to walk more, I'm going to stop eating junk food, I'm going to be more intentional about what I do, I'm going to learn about computers, I'm going to learn about movies of the day, I'm going to become relevant again, that your body will come along with it. You know, in Western society, unfortunately, we don't treat old people very well, and we tend to be dismissive of them. Their opinions don't mean as much anymore, and it their contributions aren't as valuable, and we don't think they're as strong or as purposeful. That's simply not true. I'm 75 years old. I have 75 years of experience. I've been blessed that I have physically, there's nothing wrong with me. So I can do physically what I did, 25, 30, 40 years ago. But I think it all starts with mindset. You have to make a choice. You have to make a decision as to who you're going to be. And the reason I called it Feelin Groovy is because, as I said, people want to feel better. They want to feel good, not just be healthier and be able to do more sit-ups or push-ups or walk through. So mindset is really the foundation upon which an entirely new Feelin Groovy system is built.
That's such an empowering shift. Realizing aging is less a number and more an attitude.
Well, it truly is. And I think if I learned anything about writing this book and talking to folks about it as I was writing it, it's attitude is everything. You stay positive, you stay curious, take care of yourself, keep up with the world around you. And you don't have to fade. You don't have to become invisible. I think, for a lot of people, they have been pushing back their whole life. They don't want to push back anymore, but it's not that. It's not pushing back at all. It's just essentially maintaining the same energy that you've had for your entire life. But as you said, the mindset shift is extremely important. I'm very much about people's state of mind, their state of emotional and mental well-being. I wrote a book last year, and it was called Madhouse: Mind Over Matter, Mind Over Market, and it was for real estate agents, because real estate agents have a very difficult time. They encounter anxiety, depression, isolation. Deals fall apart. People are not nice to them. And the problem with most real estate agents is they don't acknowledge it. They don't acknowledge the need for good mental health. They just try to white knuckle power their way through it. And so I started doing seminars and counseling. And I had agents saying to me, I had no idea that I had these self-limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And all I need to do is confront them, deal with them, get them out of the way, and I could move forward. And I think much of that concept is the same with aging. People have an idea of what aging is. And look, baby boomers have never gotten old before. They don't know what to do. They're in uncharted waters. But there's a lot of information about what you should do. You should slow down. You shouldn't work as hard. You should, and should is a terrifying word. Should means nothing. Because it doesn't, it's not a command. It isn't you must or you could or whatever. It's just, well, here's something. So I think a lot of people step away because their mindset, people tell them all the time, this is how you should behave when you're older. I don't believe it. And interestingly, in doing my research, I found there was a physiologist and personal trainer that worked with a lot of older folks. And she said, there is nothing that a 17-year-old can do that a healthy 60-year-old cannot do. So I can run, I can work out in the gym. I will cognitively put myself up against anybody in terms of conversations and writing and things like that. So I think a lot of older people are taught this is the way you need to behave. I read a book called Ageless Aging, and that's exactly what ageless aging is. There is no need for you to embrace society's idea of what aging is. It's an individual choice and an individual decision as to how you are going to choose to age. You don't have to, you can get older without growing old.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, in Feeling Groovy, you talk about the big three: activity, engagement, and humor. Why those three, and how do they work together?
So obviously you have to stay active. And as I said a little bit ago, your body is an extremely elegant machine. It works beautifully. And when you really stop to think about um, when you stop to think about how it works, I think it's the reason why we love watching sports, because we all love to see the human body doing what it does at its peak. Well, that's the same for everybody. Everybody has their own peak. When I decided to get healthy again, I decided to be a runner. I knew nothing about running, absolutely nothing. So I studied on it. I said, okay, I'm going to do this. The first day that I ran a half a block and I was exhausted. So my strategy was every house has a mailbox in front of it where the postman puts the postbox where he puts your letters. So my strategy was to add one postbox to my run every day. And the next thing I knew, I was running 3 miles. So all it is at the end of the day is put down the potato chips, get off the couch, and do something. Go for a walk. I tell everybody go to your doctor first if you have any medical conditions to make sure that you can do this, but just be active. That's all it takes. Be active and do things. The second thing is engagement. Engagement is extremely important because, as I said, as you get older, people tend to dismiss you a little bit, and they don't mean anything by it. But your children, your grown-up children, oh, mom, dad, and they don't quite put as much credibility in your decisions anymore, and they think you're slowing down. My son knows, and he learned it the hard way, that I am neither slowing down nor are my decisions not as crisp as they used to be. And he has a business, and he and I work hand in hand in his business, including me doing things like loading and unloading trucks. So, but society overall tends to be a little bit dismissive. That's why it's extremely important for older people to know how computers work, to understand artificial intelligence, to know who today's movie stars are, to know who the movers and shakers of society. And don't live in the past and talk about black and white television shows. Know what's going on right now and stay engaged in the world that you live in 2025. And then, of course, humor is just the foundation for my entire life. If you cannot laugh at yourself, then you're doing something, because it is funny. The fact that sometimes I'll trip over my own feet, and I know I didn't trip over my own feet the same way when I was 25, but there are things that happen, and you just have to sort of grin and bear. When you get older, you find yourself walking around the kitchen looking for your glasses, and you realize they're on your head. Well, you can't panic. You can't criticize yourself. You can't think, oh my God, I have dementia. You just have to laugh. So those three things for me of being active, which is sort of step one, do something, get off the couch, commit to the fact that you're going to change your mindset and you're going to be active. That activity then is going to lead you to engagement, and you're going to live in the present. You're going to be present and live in the now. And knowing that sometimes you're going to forget things. Sometimes it's not going to go the way you plan. But instead of being embarrassed, you laugh at it and you move on, because you've been around long enough to earn the right to make a mistake, or to earn the right to do something silly and just be able to laugh
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, What's one small step someone could take today to build more of those into their lives?
Well, I think for the folks that I talked to when I was writing the book, it took me about 18 months to write the book between research and you know, getting other people's stories. The recurring theme was fear. And I found it a little bit difficult for me to understand because what I found was either this reluctance to become active for fear that uh, I'll be injured, or you know, if I try to do this. I mean, for example, they did a study with 80 to 90-year-olds, and they started them lifting weights at 85 years old, and they found that they increased their strength by 183%. And all it took was for somebody to do it, to just say, okay, we're going to do this thing. There's a nice lady who used to be a real estate agent who's 82 years old, who deadlifts 350 pounds and competes in weightlifting tournaments against people half her age. There's another lady who ran the Boston Marathon this past weekend. She's 70, and she's running not 6-hour runs, but under 3 hours. So all you need to do is get past your fear of I may injure myself, or I'm not going to be able to do it, or I'll embarrass myself. None of that's relevant. What I also try to communicate to people is um, aging, enjoy the process, don't fear the destination. Because a lot of people are saying, well, you know, I'm eventually going to die soon. And I ask, how do you know? Nobody, you have no expiration date. So you have no idea whether you're going to die next week, next year, or next decade. So don't think about that. Don't think about the destination. Other people say, why bother exercising? Because I wake up tomorrow with a heart attack or cancer. And my response is, yeah, well, maybe you won't. So just get over the fear, get over the anxiety. And then once you get past that, make a plan, shift your mind, get that mindset shift going to say, all right, here's what I'm going to do. And I find that once people get over their anxiety, and I tell them, make a to-do list. I'm going to buy sneakers. I'm going to buy shorts. I'm going, people start to, people start to make a list. And then once they're making the list, they're engaged. Now they've gone past the anxiety, they've gone past the worry, they have shifted their mind, and now it's a task. And if baby boomers are good at anything, it's making to-do lists and doing tasks. And then, as I say, you know, be able to uh, be able to laugh when something goes wrong. When I was doing it, I used to make bets with myself. I bet I can run a half a mile further. No, you can't. Yes, I can. And I'd have these arguments with myself. And then I'd give myself a gift. Okay, if you can run another half mile, you can have a chocolate sundae. You can have some ice cream. Make a plan. Once you've made a plan, you become engaged. Once you're engaged, just remember that this is just fun. You're doing this now for fun, but it's going to extend your life. It's going to make those years of extending your life more valuable. What I've tried to do in the book is to tell my story of this is why I did it, and this is how I did it, how I sleep, how I eat, how I exercise, how I deal with stress and anxiety. So the book not only talks about the soft stuff, but it also will give you a roadmap as to these are the things that I do, and you know, give them a try, or at least use them as a basis for what you may want to do with your own plan.
I love that. It's not about doing it all at once, but weaving joy and connection in daily.
It's true, and I want, if people take one thing away from this book, it's that I'd like them to believe that aging is a choice, and that you can choose to stay curious, connected, and in control. And I want to remind them that it's never too late to start fresh, to feel good, to live on your own terms. Um, something again, another statistic that I found: new businesses, new businesses started by people over 60 years old have a 70% success rate in the United States, as compared to a 25% success rate for the general population. So older people start businesses and are 3 times as successful. So if you've always liked flower arranging, start a business. Put it on the internet. If you've always liked painting, if you've always wanted to play in a rock band, do it, because your chances of success statistically are 3 times greater than the general population. And once you start thinking about your band or your flower arranging or your painting or whatever, you're not going to think about getting sick or you know, how long am I going to live or anything. It becomes irrelevant because you're so busy living your life that that's all you can think about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, you have had such a multifaceted career: real estate, publishing, film, now authoring. How has staying professionally active contributed to your sense of purpose and health?
Um, part of it is that I really would like to continue to have a place to live and food to eat. So if I don't work, I don't have any money. But um, I, I have always been entrepreneurial. I've never had a job. I've never worked for anyone else, and that was from my father. My father always told me that never put your life in someone else's hands. But I worked in the music business for 25 years. I worked with the Rolling Stones and David Bowie and Bruce Springsteen, huge rock stars. And I helped them with their marketing and advertising and promotions and things like that. And I did that for the better part of 25 years. Now, I've always been a writer. So no matter what else I was doing, I've always written books. And then I moved from the music business to the video game business when that business was starting out. And so I was doing marketing and advertising and promotions and things like that in the video game business. Then I've always enjoyed sports. So when I got out of video game business, I worked in the sports and baseball business for many, many years. But then my son was becoming a teenager and I didn't want to be on the road all the time. So because I felt a teenage boy needed his dad around. So I got into real estate, which allowed me to stay in my own city and sleep in my own bed. But I started my real estate. I got married late, and I started my real estate business when I was in my 60s. And but I ended up selling $50 million worth of real estate. And again, it was because, and nobody viewed me as the old guy, like because I knew what was going on. I was contemporary. I was busy. I was active. I was doing all those things. People didn't notice my age. They just saw me as Joe, the real estate broker, who was doing a good job and knew how to get them a good deal and was competitive in the marketplace. So I think a lot of times when you have something about which you are passionate and you apply yourself to that, remembering that in order to be successful in any business, you have to keep your mental wellness good. You have to work out, you have to sleep, you have to eat well, you have to do all those things to allow your body to continue to function at its peak. Then you're just going to be doing business, whatever it is. I decided, my dad passed away about 3 years ago, and I decided when he passed away that I would start writing full time. And so I've done that. The first things I wrote were a couple of poetry collections for children. Then I wrote the book Madhouse for real estate agents and mental well-being. Then I've done Feelin Groovy. I have another book coming out shortly called The Rockstar Real Estate Agent, which talks about, it sort of gives rock stars some tips. I'm sorry, real estate agents some tips as to how they're run the business like a rock star. I have a character that I've created that solves 150-year-old crimes. He's sort of like Sherlock Holmes. And so I find crimes that were unsolved in the 1860s, and he helps solve these crimes in sort of fictional novels. Um, and because I like that time period, I'm starting an online book uh, store called Gutter Lane Books, which is very much about, Jack the Ripper type books and Sherlock Holmes type books. So in my life, I practice what I preach. Um, I find something that I like that I'm passionate about. I investigate it. I start doing it. I start working on it. But I run them like businesses. They're not hobbies for me. So the things that I do, and I have friends of my own age group, and they're starting businesses to make money because that's always what they did. But you can start a business as a hobby. You can start a business to make money. I just think that um, you have to make the choice that you are going to age a certain way. And once you make that choice, then everything that you do is going to be in support of that. And you will be so busy. At the end of the day, the job is not to arrive at the grave site in a perfect little body. That's not it. It's to come sliding in sideways, saying, wow, what a great ride. You want to keep busy and you want to keep doing things and keep doing exciting things, and whether it's traveling, new ideas. That's how I try to stay engaged. That's how I try to sort of practice what I preach.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, for retirees or those slowing down, how do you suggest they rediscover meaningful engagement?
Find that thing about which you have always had a passion, or that thing that, look, a lot of baby boomers put their lives on hold to raise their children, to protect their family. It was always, someday I'm going to paint paintings. Someday I'm going to write books. Someday I'm going to visit Paris. Someday, someday, someday. Well, someday is today. You've done your job. You've raised your family. You've taken care of your kids. You've done all those things. Now it's your turn. Find that passion and wrap it around yourself and do those things. I have a friend who is my age. Her husband unfortunately passed away. All she has done is travel. All she's done is seen those places that she's always wanted to see. So that's how you do it. Find your passion. Your passion will create a purpose for you. Because once you say, I want to travel, then your purpose is to identify where you're going. And the final piece to that is people, because the social part of it is extremely important. So if you have passion and purpose and people, you will live a wonderful life for as long as it lasts.
Such a great reminder that purpose doesn't retire even if careers do.
It's true. It's
Mhm.
absolutely true. And, I I don't know how to retire. Maybe someday. It's like when people ask me, "Do I play golf?" and I tell them, "No, I'm not old enough to play golf." So you retire when you sort of reached a point where you've said, "I've gone as far as I can go, and I just want to relax for a while." I don't see, for me, I don't see that day coming, but because everybody has something they want to do, and they haven't done it yet because they've given up their life to do other things, and that's a good thing. But someday is today. Whatever you want it to do, and once you make the decision, the rest will just take care of itself, and you'll feel groovy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Joe, thank you for reminding us that aging doesn't mean slowing down, it means showing up. Your story and insights are a powerful nudge for all of us, no matter our age, to embrace life fully and joyfully. And to our listeners, if you are looking for a roadmap to thrive, not just survive, through the years ahead, check out Joe's book, Feelin Groovy. Because no matter what the calendar says, your grooviest years can still be ahead. So until next time on Mind Over Matter, stay curious, stay bold, and stay groovy.